Let's discuss the appropriate breaker sizing for a motor, specifically within the context of an older Allen Bradley motor control center, or MCC, that has been updated. The core issue is determining the correct breaker size for a motor. In this case, a 100 horsepower motor with a full load amperage or floor of 124 amps, where the existing breaker is 150 amps, and you want to know what the minimum breaker size is, given that the equipment is high torque. Increasing the breaker frame size to 250 amps presents significant modifications to the starter cabinet, and we need to be mindful of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifically Table 430.52, and the exception outlined in 430.52 cone. Table 430.52 cone of the National Electrical Code allows for certain exceptions to standard breaker sizes. This is particularly relevant for motors used in high torque applications. These exceptions recognize that motors driving high torque loads, like your coal miller application, often experience significantly higher current draws during startup compared to standard motors. For motors with a lot rotor current, or LRC, exceeds 600%, the maximum allowable breaker size can be increased. The NEC permits an increase of up to 250% in these cases. A standard practice for sizing breakers for high torque equipment typically involves using a value of 125% of the motor's full load amperage, or floor. This adjustment factor accounts for the increased current that these motors draw during startup and normal operation under heavy load. So for a motor with a full load amperage, or floor, of 124 amps, the calculation would be 124 amps multiplied by 1.25, or 125%, which equals 155 amps. In your situation, with a 100 horsepower motor and a full load amperage, or floor, of 124 amps, and considering the existing physical constraints of your motor control center, we need to find the permissible minimum breaker size that meets code requirements while avoiding major modifications. You mentioned a breaker that is currently 150 amps. The maximum allowable breaker size, based on the potential 250% increase discussed earlier, would be 150 amps multiplied by 2.5, which is 375 amps. However, we are looking for the minimum. Based on the NEC guidelines and the specifics of your high torque application, the permissible minimum breaker size is 155 amps. This value satisfies both the exceptions outlined in Table 430.52 cone and the standard practice for high torque equipment sizing using 125% of the full load amperage, or floor.